I hired a copywriter to write a soap opera sequence for me. And that's what this episode is all about. I'm going to tell you what a soap opera sequence is, why I hired this copywriter, what a soap opera sequence is going to do for me, and per usual, I'll probably divert a few ways, but I also am going to touch on how ChatGPT has helped me with my own copywriting, but surprisingly inspired me to hire a copywriter. Listen in.
You know when someone is selling from stage and at the end the audience gets up and rushes to the back of the room to buy? That's a table rush. My name is Mischa Z, and the Table Rush Talk Show is all about bringing you the tools, strategies, and tactics that you can use to grow your audience and inspire them to buy.
Yes, indeed, I hired a copywriter to write a soap opera email sequence for me. I hired a who. We like to call them a who in the arena that I play in. In other words, you're trying to find who can help us or help me versus how can I do this myself. And the more we can find who's and be willing to partner with and or pay who's, the faster we can accomplish things, the faster we can scale what we're doing, the faster we can bring ideas to market, products to market, all these sorts of things. And I'm very proud of myself for hiring this who and taking this step. And I even surprisingly didn't have to think much about it. I was just like, it's time. So I'm going to touch a little bit on that here. I do want to say I'm kind of tired too. I was just interviewed by this copywriter to get my origin story around my for this email sequence. But boy, I'm tired. The influence army is going full speed. I've got my founding members. I've been teaching them. I've had a couple classes where I taught this week. I did a hot seat call today. I've got another hot seat call tomorrow. And it's been effective. People are loving what I'm doing. Great feedback. I'm asking, is this helping? Is this what you want? Is this what you need? The answers are yes, 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 more. So that's awesome. But a lot of this is new frontier for me. So I'm putting lots of energy out. So a lot of energy output, massive creativity flowing through. I feel like I'm in full alignment. But boy, oh boy, I have these moments where I'm just exhausted, and in a good way, like gratefully exhausted. And what's interesting about that is it sometimes it will delay my podcast recording or delay my podcast stuff because I'll just feel tired and boy, it's going to be hard to talk or just maybe a little more disjointed than usual. But nonetheless, here we go. And of course, if you want to get on the wait list for the next time I open the doors to the Influence Army, you can go to influencearmy.com, theinfluencearmy.com/FML, Frank, Mary, Linda. And this link is also in the show notes, and you can get on the wait list for the next time I open the doors. Anyhow, so as we build influence, and as I'm taking people on influence tours, and as I'm going on influence tour myself, and I'm speaking on more and more in front of more and more audiences and going on more shows and things like that, what you do is you refine your message so you can teach, inspire, and entertain people to action. And so what you do is you're out there on influence tour and you're telling people to click on a link, and we call that a lead magnet, a lead squeeze page. because they're interested in what you're doing. So, for example, I'll go speak about going on influence tour, or about the importance of testimonials, or all these different things, and the podcast hosts always say, "Oh, great! Well, where can they find you?" Or "Let's give them something," and "Where should I send them?" And so you send them to some sort of landing page. In a perfect world, what a lot of people do that is ineffective is they just send them to their website. And websites are very 2000. Most websites are not effective at getting people to take action and join your lists and buy your things or take advantage of your courses. So we want to send them to a strategic landing page, what we call a lead squeeze page, where we say, hey, give us your email and we'll give you what we call a lead magnet. We'll give you this thing. So in my particular case, I'll obviously be talking about speaking on podcasts and putting your message out there and telling the stories to inspire people to take action and da-da-da-da-da. And people who are wanting to get their message out and perhaps are wanting to build their influence, their impact, and their, authority and income by going on tour, they're going to have questions about it. And so what I would do is I'd say, hey, the top 10 questions about going on an influence tour or about speaking on podcasts to get your message out. So I would create a brochure, an online asset like a PDF that people would go, oh, sure, I'll gladly give you my email. And in return, they get this lead magnet. They get the top 10 questions for, the top 10 answers for going on a podcast tour. Hopefully you're tracking me. And for anybody who wants to do this with me, I'd help you create the same thing. And so there's traffic in cars. I apologize. And diesel trucks. Diesel trucks are always so loud. I'm sure you heard that for a second. Anyhow, we send them to a lead squeeze page. They trade their email for our lead magnet, and bam, they're in our list. And we can now start sending them emails. And what's very important is that you send what's called a soap opera sequence of emails. So maybe 5 or 6 emails that sort of are geared towards helping the customer, the person who's interested. You're basically introducing them to you, building, the know, like, and trust factor, and hopefully adding value to them. And so then, they see this sequence, this 5 or 6 email sequence, and at the end of that sequence, now you're sending them your weekly emails or your daily emails. The daily emails, they call them Seinfeld sequence. It's just on and on and on every day. Seinfeld. Anyway. But also at the end of this soap opera sequence, let's say 5 to 7 emails, you can make the person an offer. So I could say, hey, this 5 or 7 email sequence would build the know, like, and trust factor, them with me, really get them involved in what I'm up to, how I can help them, how I am helping them. And then at the end of that sequence, I open the doors to my influence army again. Or for you, maybe you offer them a course, or you offer them some coaching, or things like that. And so a soap opera sequence is very important. And you can write them yourselves. You can hire a copywriter to write it for you. You can, use ChatGPT to help you. And I've been using ChatGPT a lot. It's been very helpful for me for cranking out really good emails, I must say. I want to say one other thing about the lead squeeze page. After they give you their email and you give them the lead magnet, the next page that pops up could say, hey, so great, you got my top 10 questions. Maybe you want to have a call to discuss further. And so you could have the next page that they see automatically delivered to them call it an upsell page or an application page where they apply to speak to you. So you can set it up so there's key questions asked, and then they are taken to your calendar so they can literally book a call on the spot, and very powerful. But you can also do upsells, downsells. There's a ton of things you can do coming out of that lead squeeze page / landing page. It's very strategically designed, again, for the audiences that you're speaking to on this influence tour. And I'm going to give you a little bit more backstory on why I'm so impressed with myself that I finally found a who and not the how. I found the who to write this email sequence for me, instead of me trying to write it myself, doing the research, joining a program that teaches you how to write it. I'm like, man, I need speed to market. Like, I need this email sequence done today. And so between internet launches for me, it's been about 1 year and 10 months, call it 20 months, I think. So the last launch that I did where I marketed to other people's lists and did all this stuff was my summit, my Tools for a Good Life Summit. And that was back, in, August by now of 2021 or something like that, or somewhere around there. So coming on 2 years ago, but it was successful and did what it was supposed to do. But I hadn't done another official launch like that on the interweb for, until I did my founding member launch for the Influence Army, a few weeks ago. And so that's been really bothering me, or it's been frustrating, where I'm like, man, I need to, bring something to market in a bigger way. And in the meantime, between these two launches, between the Tools for a Good Life Summit, and you can go check that out, toolsforagoodlifesummit.com. You can see that summit. It was a speaker summit. You could actually register for it, get instant access for free, and see 20 amazing speakers. It's awesome. But in between then and my founding member launch, I was doing a bunch of testimonial work, a bunch of interview work, but it was all face-to-face, mostly face-to-face business opportunities, networking opportunities. So I was going to a ton of events, going on Zoom calls, a lot of active participation, which was driving interest in what I was doing, and which is cool. It was great. I was getting paid to interview people and getting paid to fly places, and brought to Ireland and to Colorado a bunch. I was going to Aspen and events in California, and but a lot of doing a lot of stuff myself. And so having a successful launch number 2, founding member launch, I was like, man, I've got to increase speed to market. I've got to increase execution. As a matter of fact, I wrote on my big whiteboard, it's big wall-size whiteboard, dry ink board, execute. I wrote, it's all about execution and spreading the message. Executing and spreading the message. That's the space I'm in right now. Okay, this is going to be one of my classic multi-part episodes, so listen in for part 2. I will dive more in on the key tension of where I was hyper aware that I had not been using who's before when I should have, and why that created this massive urgency in me to use a copywriter this time, plus the rest of the story. All right, listen in for part 2. It's coming. Yes, part 2 is on the way. Excuse me, stay tuned for part 2.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.